are listening to Triple BBB FM 89.1 on or off your dial. Are we off our dial, boys?
No.
No?
No.
Well, you said the right thing. So, Mark, you're not off your dial. Neil, are you off your dial?
I don't have a dial, actually.
Don't you?
No.
Do you have a setting?
I've got buttons.
Which button shall we push today?
The red one.
Okay, that will... You told me not to push the red button.
I always go for the red button.
The history eraser button. And we've got Mick on the camera there. So anyway, but you were just listening to Shamika Copeland with Head and Back, and before that, CC Rider by Stony Spinner. I always get that one mixed up. For some reason, must be in the name. So Mark and Neil and Mick are from Thylacine Awareness Group Australia. Is that right?
Yep.
And I've had them on about a year ago, and we're just going to have a bit of a chat here and there between the music and the great times about how things are progressing. So first of all, Neil, I've only seen you in a television set before on YouTube. So how did you get started? Where are you from? What is your serial number?
My serial number? You want my Commonwealth reference number?
Yeah, the one that I'm getting to your bank accounts, mate.
Oh no, I don't. I haven't memorised that one.
Neither can I, mate. I can tell you your serial number. I just got it here.
I started to go off back in 2014. Initially, it was just a Facebook group, and it sort of grew and grew and grew and grew and grew, and then we ended up with a YouTube channel and a website, and it's still growing and growing and growing all the time. I got rid of about 90 membership applications to the Facebook group the other day, which took me about an hour to go through them all. And then I looked today and there's another 30 there, people wanting to come in. So the awareness, which is the key word there, I suppose, is raising awareness, is certainly on the rise. And, I started off in South Australia. I'm from Adelaide originally myself.
That's okay, mate.
Yeah, I know you won't hold it against me.
Yeah.
And I suppose I'd heard about this whole thylacine thing. I bought a house in Tassie in 2010. I had a sighting in 2010, had another one in 2014, and then when I came back to Adelaide after that trip to Tassie, I was really quite curious because when I saw the second one, it was right near my house in Tasmania. So I came back, I started digging, and lo and behold, I discovered there was all these sightings from the mainland, and I had no idea. I thought it was just a Tasmanian thing. And so once I learnt about the sightings from the mainland, I got really interested because I didn't realise South Australia had such a long history, dating right back to white settlement in 1836, of these animals being present. So down the rabbit hole I went, and I ended up with a file of sightings from the South Australian Museum, and I started ringing up these people, and some of the notes in the file were that old. They were 6-7 digit phone numbers. It was
so you like cold calling basically.
Yeah, cold canvassing, and some of the people are, oh God, that was 20 years ago. Yeah, come and have a cuppa. We'll talk to you about it. What we saw, and that's how it started. And I just started interviewing people, and then I got tired of a lot of the people online because I was on Facebook and I was trying to find my way around in there, seeing what was happening with this thylacine stuff, and had a few online arguments as you do, and then I decided to start my own group basically. And then in 2016 we had our first ambiguous video of sorts, and John helped me start it all off back then, and we were keen to get a bit of a YouTube thing happening and collect whatever evidence we could. So we got this video in 2016, and we sat on it for about 7 months before we released it, but we waited till National Threatened Species Day, which was the day that the last captive thylacine died in 1936, which is September the 7th. So we waited till then to release this video. And John actually got hold of this email list for every radio station, newspaper and TV station in Australia. And it was like 1,300 emails that we sent out. So John made the video, put it on a YouTube channel, and we kept it as a silent video so people couldn't see it. And then we switched it on after we emailed every journalist in the country, basically. And it just went nuts.
How many on your Facebook page?
I think we've got about 12,000 on there now. 13,000, I think, last time I had a look. And then YouTube, we've got about 14,000 subscribers. So
well, I expect all my listeners to click onto that page, and it's your duty, listeners. We are animal supporters here. We have our own animal club here.
Okay.
On Radical Radio. We'll have to find a thylacine to join it now.
You need a totem now, don't you?
Yeah, we need a totem. I've got a little canary.
So we're in a coal mine?
Yeah, long story. You are listening to Triple B, and we have the Thylacine Awareness Group Australia here. Just talking to Neil. We'll talk to Mark shortly. In the meantime, let's just kick back some on or off your dial music. Hope you're having fun. Alright, we're on the air. The temperature in Newry is 10.7 degrees, and we're going down tonight to 7 degrees and possible shower. So pretty much the same stuff that's been happening all week. So more on the weather later. That was Little Queenie by the Rolling Stones, as promised, because that was to say hello to Queenie, who had her 70th anniversary as a monarch. Not a bad, well, not a bad gig. 7 years not out. Well done. Sorry, Harry and Meghan really didn't make the grade, but doesn't matter. Blue on Black by Five Fingers Death Punch, and in the studio I have the Thylacine Awareness Group of Australia, Mick, Mark and Neil, and we've had a quick chat to Neil, and now it's your turn, Mark.
So,
hit me, mate.
No worries. Well, it's good to be here, Roy, and I would say since last time we spoke, we've had quite a few sightings that we've been sent out to and had a look at, and there was a reference to a Roseworthy sighting out on, I'm pretty sure it was Horrocks Highway, the reference possibly was, and since then I've had 2 other sightings out that way from 2 separate people, and one was late at night from a girl leaving a job out that way and heading into Gawler, and she saw one quite clearly with the stripes and ran across the road. And then I was at one of the local football matches in Gawler not long after, well, it would have been at the start of the season after we spoke last, and I was speaking to a couple of guys I knew from one of the clubs, and they explained to me that, well, not long before then they'd heard of a sighting by 2 guys that saw a thylacine out that way. So, as I mentioned last time when we spoke, these animals aren't sort of staying in this area. These are thoroughfares. These are areas that they'll roam through. This animal being marsupial, it's always on the roam. So, and then we've had a little bit of a interest with a professor. So we've had Professor Philip Weinstein on board too from Uni SA, and he's been
Adelaide Uni.
Adelaide Uni. Thank you, Neil. Yes. Better get that right. And so, it's been interesting having him along, with us. So he's sort of had a lot of interest in what we've been doing and the sightings and the terrain especially. And
so do you have much, have a rapport going with the professor, like swap information, and so he's taking it quite seriously?
Oh yes, he is. Yeah. Well, everything that I can think of that relates to the mainland marsupial wolf or thylacines, I send through to him, and he jots everything down, and he's very interested and very open to the possibilities, which he himself says that really if the carcass or a body is brought forward, how silly they would look to just ignore all these sightings that have come forward, and and ignore it and not look after the terrain. So that's very important. But up in the mid-north at the moment, we've had some sightings up that way too. So that's where our focus has been, and we've have support from a couple of farmers up that way, and they're allowing us to put trail cameras on their properties, and very open, and Mick and myself have kept a close eye on that. And just recently there was a sighting up there, and then Mick went there the next day, I'm pretty sure it was, and actually went out with his thermal camera, or was that night even, and he actually got some very good video footage of this animal on the thermal camera, which we're very, very positive and confident that is a thylacine. So
I've actually seen that footage.
you have, yeah,
and the side profile.
yeah,
for sure.
yeah. And just recently, I was blessed enough to spend some time in Tasmania too. So Neil and the group got me down there, and we spent some time. There for a week, or it was 10 days actually, all up, 9 to 10 days, and Neil was such an amazing host at the Tassie Tiger Lodge, so great place to stay if you're ever in Tasmania.
No, I'll be going there now.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Do I need money?
Yep. Mark's now broke.
Neil's an amazing host, and the smell of fresh bread every day. I mean, oh my God, absolutely beautiful. No, the area around there is just amazing. The terrain is so thick. The possibilities are just endless. So, yeah, and we actually went to the beach, the local beach, on the first day that I was there.
Yeah.
And we came across some amazing prints.
Okay.
Yeah, these prints, like we've released it on a YouTube video, so they're there for people to view. And we took casts of the prints. Very clear 5-toe prints of this animal, which was very typical of the thylacine and known for it. So
Is that typical marsupial, 5 toes?
well, in respect to, I suppose, marsupial, I know devils do have that, but when you've got a
Possums have.
yeah, when you've got these big prints the size of a human hand and basically you've got sets of 4 with a stride of almost 6 foot. That's a animal running fast, and that's a big animal. So, and we know that they got quite, up to 29 to 30 kilos and even more. There was one in Tasmania that was up to 56 kilos. It was weighed at. So,
Okay.
yes.
Oh, cool. Well, more on that a bit later. A bit more music. I have the Thylacine Awareness Group of Australia here. They're just giving us an update on what they've been doing. So they're, good to catch up. A bit more music and a bit more talking. And so it goes. This is Lance Lopez. What looks so good. Triple BFM. Thylacine, aka Tassie Tigers. And I have the Thylacine Awareness Group of Australia here. I've got Mark and Neil and Mick doing the full scale production interview and filming here, and hopefully you'll find it on YouTube a bit later. Something will happen. That's the go, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, me and Mark started filming when he was in Tassie the other week with me, and then when we got on the ferry, we did a bit more filming.
Yeah.
And a little bit of drinking. And
I'd like any projectile vomits over the.
She was pretty calm seas coming back across, actually.
Yeah, the Tasmania is
But
safe.
as I sort of cruise around, we've got a lot to do over the weekend, out in the Mallee and stuff. Mark's organised a few things for me
So,
to do and people to visit and see.
so tell me,
stuff.
we were grown up and told that Tassie Tigers were only in Tasmania.
Yeah.
What are your theories about them being in the mainland? Because I did hear once that when they were being hunted down, some people brought some to us over to the mainland for them to breed up. Anything in that?
Oh, look.
Is it feasible, or do you think they just grow around here anyway?
Well, it's feasible that there is evidence to suggest that people repatriated Tasmanian animals to Wilson's Promontory in Victoria.
Oh, yeah.
It did happen,
Yeah.
but there's actually nothing in any of the paperwork about thylacines. Now, the issue with it is, A, they're a predator, they're a little bit bitey, and you've got to think back then in the 1920s when this was meant to have happened. A, you need a port, and you need to have these things in a cage. You need to put them in a boat and row them from the main ship to the beach or wherever to unload them. So logistically, I don't think it was really practical. But like I've been saying repeatedly for the last 7 or 8 years, there is a lot of evidence of them being on the mainland at the time of white settlement, and they've always been here. Mm-hmm. So, people are still getting their head around that, and science disagrees because science has got its head in the sand essentially when it comes to this whole mainland thylacine phenomenon. But you go through like the National Newspaper Archive on Trove, online, and there are thousands of accounts of unusual animals, and a lot of them fit the bill for being a thylacine in the old newspapers, you know. So they may have brought some over, but they're always here, and they're reported in every state and territory. So, you know, if they brought half a dozen over and let them off in Wilson's Promontory, gee, they've been successful at getting around the place.
Yeah, true. Yeah, good point.
Yeah,
Thanks
so...
for that. And like you say, lots of sightings, but you know, people I say I've spoken to go, yeah, bullshit. They're not on the mainland. Like we spoke about earlier, like the doubters.
Yeah.
So, and are they just naturally reclusive, or have they just learned to stay away from people?
They've always tried to stay away from people because it's not a good thing for them to come in contact with people, and the Indigenous folks would have told you about that if you'd asked them at the time, and they still do, because you know, in the Flinders Ranges with the Adnyamatha people, they still celebrate the animal because it's still part of their culture, which means it's still alive.
Yeah.
It's never gone away for them.
Good point.
So, you know, all right, we don't have a dead one, but they are a very elusive animal. They're a very solitary animal. They rely heavily on their sense of smell to find each other when they need to catch up for breeding and feeding and all that sort of stuff. We don't get a lot of sightings with more than one animal in them, do we?
No, that's
it's
right.
nearly always a solitary animal.
Solitary animal.
Yeah.
And
So
when do they like dig a hole in the ground, or when they have a den, or are they just in the grass, or what?
yeah, they'll have a lair underground. I think out in the drier areas they take over wombat warrens personally,
Okay.
and they stay cool in the summer, and then they come out at night and in the evening when it's cooler. But they will, you know, we had a sighting north of Adelaide from an old Italian fella from the 1980s, and he was out there shooting rabbits, and he basically found a lair under some boxthorn bushes.
Okay.
So it was just an opening in the thicket of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it was just a bush basically. So it's just cover. They're very good at hiding.
Yep.
And they slip up every now and then, and someone spots one. So,
Yeah, and there's 3 guys right in this room now.
well, Mark's the only one that hasn't seen one. Mick's seen one. I've seen 3. Although we kind of saw something weird the other day, didn't we?
We did, yes. We were driving up one of the dirt roads out there in Tassie and North East Tassie, and yeah, I usually film like all the time, and I've decided not to film. The typical not filming at the time.
Nothing will happen.
Oh my god, yeah, but we saw the rump of something. No stripes were evident, but it definitely was a quadruped of some sort with a tail sticking quite straight out like a broomstick and making off into the thick of the Tasmanian vegetation, which, believe me, if you saw a thylacine run across the road and you tried to chase it or you tried to get a photo of it, there is no way you're going to get in that vegetation. It is thick as.
No.
Yeah, absolutely thick.
Not worth it. Not
No.
worth the hassle.
No.
Oh, all right. You are listening to Triple BBB Radical Radio with my special guest from the Thylacine Awareness Group of Australia, and we'll have a couple more tracks and a bit more music, bit talky, and we'll wrap it up so we can have it nicely wrapped up in an hour, and you can edit the show. Okay.
Yeah.
But this is Harmonica Shah with what's it called? Shake It Mama. Hope you're having fun out there. I hope you're finding the show interesting. Please, because I see lots of my listeners through the week, and they send me texts and give me shit and abuse, which I kind of get off on. And just send me a text and think if you've enjoyed the show and tell me what you reckon, because I'm having a good time. It's my show. Can you hear me, lads?
Yo.
Yo. You don't have to worry about Mick. You don't count, mate. You're the camera guy.
Yeah, that's
He
right.
just hears. He doesn't say much.
It's like a drummer. What do you call a bloke that hangs around musicians? A
You're
drummer.
right. Oh, just call me Lurch.
Sorry, that's an old joke. Casey Chambers with Rattling Bones, with Shane Nicholson, of course. Before that, Shake It Mama by Harmonica Shah. We are here with the Thylacine Awareness Group of Australia. We're having a heck of a time here, and we're going to wrap it up pretty soon. We're going to finalise things, and we'll just book it in for next time. So,
Yeah.
Neil,
Yes.
scat.
Scat.
Yeah.
Ba-ba-ba-do-da-do-do-do-do-do-ba-ba. No, that's the other kind of scat. Sorry.
Have you heard of scat?
Recently in the media, there's been a lot of talk about poo. Back in 2017, I was on holiday with a friend of mine in Tassie, actually, and we were mountain climbing as you do. And I actually walked past it, and he spotted it. I missed it, and we found this giant fresh turd.
Yep.
So I brought it back to South Australia to try and find someone that could test it and see what it was. And it had all the hallmarks of being a Thylacine scat. So it was the right colour, size. It was ginormous. It was like a Bondi cigar.
Good thing we didn't step in it.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
good thing. And cut a long story short, no one wanted to test this thing, and finally I found someone that could test it, and it had decomposed a bit by the time I got it tested, sadly, but it came back with a smidgen of numbat DNA. Now, there's no numbats in Tasmania, and numbats and thylacines have identical DNA up until about 94%, and then one mutates and becomes a thylacine. So that was a rather significant find. Now, due to the large size of this thing, if a numbat had pushed it out, it would have turned the numbat inside out pretty much, because they're only a little critter that lives on termites. So yeah, we have had DNA evidence that didn't quite get over the line. We get lots of footprint evidence that matches up with historical sketches. We've got some ambiguous videos, as everybody knows, but we've got a couple of really good videos, and I think Mick's video that he got the other week was very good. And South Australian as well. And Mark's now been washed in footprint evidence as well himself, and he's poured a few plaster casts, so he's popped his cherry there, and finally going to commit to carrying some plaster in a bucket around in the back of his car.
I will.
So yeah, look, the sightings evidence as well is really important, because there are a lot of things that people report independent from each other who've never even heard of this animal before. And it's the same stuff. People are describing the same things: the awkward gait, the long stiff tail, the stripes, the big buffy head, the behaviour where it wasn't really interested in them, it just kept doing what it was doing. So
Sound like you're talking about me.
but, you know, like, we've got a big following that's just getting bigger and bigger all the time. It was about raising awareness for me when I started it, because I thought, well, if this thing's on the mainland, I want to hear about it. And so I wanted to collect all this info, and I've kind of handed the torch over to Mark, and he's been running with it since I sort of went back to Tassie, and he's been doing a fantastic job. And as Mark knows, every time you talk to someone, you get this extra bit of info that just comes out of nowhere. I go to the hairdressers at Ranella every 2 or 3 years to get my hair cut, because
I can tell.
I'm a bit special with my hair. And I was there 3 or 4 days ago getting my hair cut, and the lady that normally cuts it was busy doing a colour on someone else, so another lady cut my hair, and we just started chatting. And her and her husband have a property in the Adelaide Hills, I'm not going to say where, but they've got audio recordings of this really unusual animal that sounds identical to a thylacine. They've found big prints. They've given me photos of the prints. And they've seen these weird sort of golden olive coloured eyes in the torchlight when they're on their property. And so, you know, it's everyday people, it's random and people don't usually talk about it because they don't want to be laughed at.
They're not nut jobs or nothing, they're just...
That's it.
They're just calling it in.
Well, this gives them a platform, really, doesn't it?
Yeah. And you know, like we take in a lot of sightings info. We investigate what we can. Mark and Mick do most of the South Australian stuff if they can get to it.
Yep.
Like Mick was saying and Mark was saying before off camera, they've got a lot of stuff happening in the mid-north.
Yep.
It's geographically good for them. It's not too far to go, so it's not too expensive on fuel and stuff. So it just keeps getting bigger. It's just a can of worms, and once I took the lid off it, mate, it just exploded.
Yeah, and a lot of these areas too where the sightings are, you find that, you know, they're not too far from where the fossils were found, you know, because what people may not know is that, you know, there have been thylacine fossils found here, and, you know, in the southeast at Narracourt, up at Red Banks here, not far from Burra, and over on the York Peninsula also, which we did a YouTube video on. And you know, so there was the classic story of the Mundrabilla cave carcass.
Yes.
You know, so that, you know, there was a lot of
Back in the 60s.
Yeah, back in 1966, I'm pretty sure it was, and most of, well, pretty well all the scientists are saying, you know, from radiocarbon dating, was it 3 times it was done, Neil?
I'm not sure how many times they did it,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty sure the radiocarbon dating was faulty because of the Maralinga tests.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll affect that.
Yeah,
Sure.
but there was
Atomic
one
test.
scientist, wasn't there? Was it Douglas who?
Athol Douglas was one of the scientists from Western Australia Museum who actually exhumed the carcass once they went back with all the gear to get it out of the cave. And he was adamant that that was only months old at the most because it had an eyeball, it had maggot casings next to it, it had fur, it had flesh. I mean, this thing wasn't 2,000 years old, but radiocarbon dating said it was, so it must be, yeah?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Yeah. Okay, well, you only got a few minutes, guys, so
Yep.
you want to finish up?
Go
Guys,
for it.
You want to bring forward thylacine awareness, and so
Yeah, well, I suppose
spit it out.
Yeah, well, I suppose it'd be just to go to our Facebook page, Thylacine Awareness Group of Australia, and or to the YouTube
Or our website.
yeah, or the website. Yeah,
So
so
they can get hold of me, so
yeah, and then Neil, your
forward that.
yes, yeah, thanks, Roy, that would be great.
No
and then
worries.
your email.
The email that I receive most of the sightings on is don'tbelievemyeyes@hotmail.com. But if you go to our website, there's a contact form on there, and we'll still get it via that email as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Beautiful.
All good.
Thank you, Roy.
no worries.
Yeah.
It's good to have you back again, and like you said, we'll have to organise something through the week or something next time, and some people can phone in and stuff like that, and a bit of a chit chat.
That'd be great.
Love your work. Keep up the good work, guys. Thanks for coming in again.
No
Thank
worries.
you.
Cheers.
And anyone out there in Radio Land or others, or small furry creatures from Alpha Centauri, you are welcome to contact me, and I'll certainly forward some information through to you. Okay, thanks for coming, guys.
No worries.
And we'll do it again. And Neil, nice to meet you.
Cheers,
I
mate.
think I'll come to Tassie and sit on your front veranda for a while.
Yeah, it's a good place to contemplate life.
Yeah, well, actually, I've got a pretty good front veranda too. And we'll contemplate that when I get home. Okay, thanks, guys.
Good on you,
Thank
mate.
you.
You are listening to Triple BBB FM. That was the Thylacine Awareness Group.